Hey, Elder Suntan Spitfire, ignite the scroll from pyramids to pavement. They feel the soul, Elder Apostle dropping jewels rare and colossal. The HOK, we get hustle over gospel. Religion in your ears, science in your nostril. House of consciousness, ain't no room for the docile. Toughest debate forum, earth can't deny. Iron sharpens iron till the sparks start to fly.
sa.neter says source up.
Get your skin thick or your career fold up.
sa.neter says source up.
Weak arguments crumble, they ain't bold enough. Micah guillotine, slice the lies from the clean. Crowd electrified, charged like a live machine. Hieroglyphs in my veins, ancestors in my spleen. Building blocks of truth, DNA of a king. The HOK ain't for the timid or the frail. Weigh your knowledge on a scale or get derailed. Sharpen swords in the foreign minds prevail. A drown in the current when the truth sets sail.
sa.neter says source up.
Get your skin thick or your career fold up.
sa.neter says source up.
Weak arguments crumble, they ain't bold enough. Iron tongue, every word a blade. Cut through illusions, truth displayed. No retreat, no surrender, we crusade. House of consciousness where legends are made.
sa.neter says source up.
Get your skin thick or your career fold up.
sa.neter says source up.
Weak arguments crumble, they ain't bold enough. Bold enough. Bold enough. Bold enough.
Peace and Black Power family. How y'all doing out there on this Sunday afternoon? Evening, I mean. First of all, you already know I'm happy as hell right now. My Knicks is on the way. Man, did y'all see that game last night? The games last night. Huh? Man. Woo! And then the other game. You know what I'm saying? Did y'all see the other game? Wow. Man. Two great games, but the Knicks pulled it out, and now they're going up against San Antonio for the chip, y'all, for the cup. What do y'all think about that, man? Man, you already know how I feel. Whew, man, NBA is trash. Okay, that's your opinion. I'm loving every minute of it right now. I'm loving every minute of it. You know? Yeah, I'm waiting on my man, Dr. Enqi, to get in the building. Enqi have returned. He have licked all his wounds, and he's recovered. My man, Dr. Enqi, have recovered from a nice debate that he had with Brother Jabari. Some people say he won. Some people say he lose. Some people say Jabari won. Some people say he lost. So, I mean, it is what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? So, overall, it was a great debate between two great champions. And so, without a doubt, Dr. Enqi have something coming up. Groundbreaking historical research by Dr. Enqi. Kemet, we coming for you. Kemet, we coming for you. Whether it's good or bad, Enqi is bringing new science to the road of Kemet. And he's adding on. You ever heard of the add-on lessons? He's adding on the lessons that nobody talked about. Understand that. Nobody bringing this out. And he's crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's in his research. And without any further ado, I bring to you Dr. Enqi in the building. What up, Enqi, man?
Nothing much, man. We gonna be in and out like a hit and run. I just wanted to be able to give, you know, for some of the people that had some questions, you know, I got a lot of trolls, but for some of the people that had questions, I wanted to be able to bring people up to speed because it's important what we were discussing. And I think that, you know, some things may have gotten, not may have, some things definitely got overshadowed in, you know, Jabari doing his, you know, his Scammy Davis Jr. impression.
There you go. You're coming up with a new word. People gonna use that.
Scammy Davis Jr. That's Jabari new name, Scammy Davis Jr. But no. Seriously. Yeah, I think it's important that we begin to take another look at, you know, what our ancestors left us. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's important that we look at, you know, Kemet and realize how far ahead they were in terms of science. You know, and when we say that the Bible comes from Kemet, the Bible is an echo of Kemet. The Bible is a copy of Kemet. The Bible is plagiarized from Kemet. When we say, put that right there, when we say all of these different things, we have to allow that to mean the good things too. A lot of times, whenever we have that conversation about things in the Bible coming from Kemet, we only want to point out the bad things, or we use that as a way to beat up, you know, people that that hold the Bible dear in one context or another. So I think it's time that we start to take the scientific route. You know, a lot of people, when I say that, they feel like I'm only saying that because I want them to put those things back. Thank you. They feel like I'm only saying that because I want them to purchase my books, which I do want them to purchase my books. but that's not the only reason I'm saying that. You know what I'm saying? The reason I'm saying that is because it's true. And we are behind, you know, we behind everybody else when it comes to that. And I think the biggest issue that we have in terms of STEMs and getting our children interested is, I think that when we have these spirited conversations, we have to act like we interested. We have to show interest. We don't, as adults, we don't show interest in STEMs. We don't show interest in technology. We don't show the interest. And to take it a step further, that we don't show the interest, we don't make it important to show that our ancestors show the interest. We don't put that to the forefront on any level, you know, whether it is smelting, you know, metallurgy, blacksmithing, creating codes, mathematical systems, the geometry that predates today's equations, or even, you know, going into, you know, the healing arts and, you know, quantum mechanics, you know, going into atomic theory and then quantum mechanics. So I like the fact that people is passionate about the debate. You know, I like that. You know, even the people attacking me because they believe Scammy Davis Jr. But what I would like to see is people get more passionate about the actual subject matter that's in the conversation. You know, when I had the debate with Enqi, and I see Enqi and Cedric, you know, they done pop their head out. they done pop their head out.
Stop for 1 minute. 1 minute. I want Rakufu, read the comment right quick. Read the comment on the screen. Somebody just put that.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Read the comment.
I will. So I'm not getting notifications again on both of my accounts.
Why do you think that is, Rakufu?
Rather than in accountability of my actions.
Not just yours, but you know,
but the whole general cussing.
Right. And when people constantly use profanity, they stop sending out the notifications because they said it's not for everybody. The channel is not for everybody. Kids
That's
be
why.
watching, older people be watching. And so that's why I tell people don't curse, even for myself too.
No.
That's all I wanted to say, man.
And I want to say this. That make a
Nah,
lot of sense.
you ain't got to say that. We already spoke in the back.
Okay,
You be good. Let me put you in the back until we're ready to open up the platform. I just want everybody to see that. So I'm not getting notifications again on both of my accounts. See that? That's because of the constant profanity. When they do that, then they start blocking my account again and my channel. And so that's why you only see me with 155 views right now, because they're not going to send out the account. And that's why when people curse and they say, my bad, I apologize, YouTube don't give a damn about that. They don't care about you apologizing. It's my channel. It's my channel. You can apologize all you want. They getting me. I'm gonna be accountable for that. Nobody else. All right, brother. I'm gonna bring you back up when we open up the platform.
Yeah, they don't have the ability to care. YouTube can't care because it's machines that detects it. So once they detect the cussing, they just put you in the block, not the block, but they put you in the no notifications. It's just algorithms. It's not like it's
category. They put me in that category.
Yeah, it's not like it's humans that they could say, oh, well, he did apologize. They don't, it's just computer algorithms. So they don't even pick that up. Yeah. But no, I was just saying about we're trying to put, we have an accountability problem as Black folks. And I guess you kind of speaking on it on a certain level with the people using profanity on the page. I'm talking about the accountability on another level in terms of we always pass the buck off to somebody else. So when it comes to education, we get mad at the school system as if it's the school system's responsibility to educate us and our children. And we don't have no accountability in that. We don't have no accountability when it comes to politics, voting, budgeting, local politics. We don't have no accountability when it comes to making sure that we create a reading culture inside our house, where we make sure we educate ourselves and by proxy our children. We don't set the example of making sure our children see us reading books every day so that they then want to pick up books and read books every day. We don't, we have this thing now where I guess it's popular and trendy and cool to come onto the internet and say, yeah, we promoting STEMs, and people are promoting STEMs. And it's like, it's a transient thing because it's not something that they're actually doing in their day-to-day actions. It's not something that their kids can look at them actually living out.
Let me ask you a question, Doctor.
Sure.
What drove you to another lane? What made you drive into Jabari's lane, Dr. Reggie's lane, Shaka's lane? What made you do that? What drove you to that side? Because your lane is health and nutrition, and you're the best at that right now.
Okay.
So what made you drive outside of that lane?
Well, the thing is, I can't say I always been in that lane, but the best way for me to answer that is to say that Kemet. Okay, so let's just for 1 second, let's put the question aside, and I'll circle back to the question. So when we look at America, right? Or forget America. Let's just talk about House of Consciousness. When we look at House of Consciousness, what kind of information can people listen to House of Consciousness and find? That's a question for you, Sal. What kind of information can people find on House of Consciousness? I would say religious information. What else?
Historical information.
What else?
Genetic information.
What else?
All kind of information, brother.
Boom. So
Yeah.
now that's a YouTube platform.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we look at America as a country, what kind of information is floating around in America?
All kind of information.
So the problem I have with people that, you know, reference Kemet is when we reference Kemet, we're stuck in the Rosetta Stone loop. When we think of Kemet, we only think of the metal neter. And so anybody who's been studying the metal neter, we feel like that's a Kemetic scholar, you know, and that's all what Kemet represented. But in actuality, Kemet, all kinds of information is there. It's a treasure trove of information. So when we only get locked into the metal neter and we feel like, okay, well, the metal neter is the Kemetic legacy, we're overlooking, and quite honestly, we fumbling the bag, so to speak, because Kemet gave the world the math, the geometry, and the technology that it has today. That all comes from Kemet. The math, the geometry, the technology. When I say the geometry, because I have, you know, and it's not a new
Are
thing.
you sure it was Kemet that gave the world math, geometry, science? Are you sure about that?
Let me put a disclaimer and clarify and a clarification. It was Kemet that gave the world the math, the science, and the geometry that the modern world is built on. Let me just put it that way.
That's a good point. But it was the Kemetic people who also learned it from Ethiopia. You laughing? You laughing?
You trolling. So
no, I'm not trolling.
Yeah,
don't forget, Ethiopia is the mother of Kemet. And some of the people migrated out of Ethiopia into Kemet.
Listen,
don't forget that, brother. You can go and do the research. Go look it up.
Listen, I'm not going to take nothing away from Ethiopia.
No, I'm saying that's why Ethiopia is called the mother. The mother of Kemet, brother.
I understand, but let me ask you a question.
But you are right. The Kemetic people is the one that put it all over the world. Like, for example, when I first started saying listening is an art, now, next thing you know, everybody grabbed it and everybody is saying it all over the world, but they don't know sa.neter is the one that started saying it. That people give all the credit to the captain. And I'm not mad about that, but captain be like, yeah, Saul said listening is an art, you know? So that's what I'm saying. They give all the credit to those who how you say it, really put that out there, that mantra out there like that.
Well,
you know, I said it, but captain is taking it to all platforms when he's debating and he's going in on people and he's saying listening is an art, you know? And so they think captain came out with that statement there. But it's all good though, you know.
But no, listen, let me say this. Kemet, you know, it has a history before the first dynasty. So there's definitely a history of Kemet before the first dynasty. And Kemet is definitely a child of Africa.
You know what else I used to say? Nobody grabbed to it yet.
What?
Remember? Now I know you know this, Enqi. If you remember, what I used to put at the beginning of my VHS tapes.
Oh,
remember? Hating is a disease.
Yeah. Hating is a disease.
Is a diss, and I put a comma in front. And then I say ease, dis-ease. Hating is a disease. Ain't nobody pick up on that yet. Hating is a disease, man. That's all it is.
That's a fact. Well, man, if that's the case, listen, AmericanHealer.website. I want y'all to all go to AmericanHealer.website because 3/4 of your chat room is sick right now. They need to go get some herbal cleanses and some bitters. They need some mosses. They need all. If hating is a disease, 3/4 of that chat is sick right now. It's crazy. But No. When we get to Kemet, we have to remember that Kemet is a child of Africa. Kemet is a child of Africa. So there's contributions that came to Kemet from, up the Nile, or we would consider it down the Nile, around the corner, so we can't really get into, Nubia and Kush and Ethiopia and, Tameri and Taseti and, get into all of the different, we just got to put the stamp on where the pyramids are. We have to put the stamp on where the pyramid texts and the papyri, the Rhine papyrus, the Moscow papyrus, and the medical papyri. We have to put the stamp on where we have those things from. You know what I'm saying? And we have to get into the technical side, and our children have to get into the technical side in order for us to be able to pass that down to them. Our ancestors passed that down. They put it, when we think of religion, and I realized this in the course, in the midst of the confusion, I think I was arguing with Sekou. People have a different concept of religion, right? So nowadays, because religions are kind of set in stone, the actual purpose of religion is confusing to a lot of people. A lot of people join religions because they want a moral system or something to that effect. But our ancestors, when they were creating what became today's religions, what they were doing was trying to map out the creation of the universe, right? The creation of the universe, the creation of matter, the creation of life, and the creation of consciousness. Those were the main things that they were trying to figure out with studying the universe. And those studies, those adventures, those quests became what we have today as religion. You know what I'm saying? But that's what they was trying to do. They was trying to figure out origin of the universe, origin of matter, origin of life, origin of man, origin of consciousness, because clearly there's a difference between people and animals. Even though we all alive, we all breathe, there's something different about us than the other creatures on the planet. And so trying to figure out how the universe, how matter, how people, how creation started, and then how creation as a process was maintained. And I think we get away from that. And that search right there, to understand creation, to understand our roots, like, that's holistic. You know what I'm saying? So to finish up with your question, I've never been in a different lane. You know what I'm saying? The people who read my books, that take my classes, they know that I've always been talking about Kemet, because Kemet is the birthplace for medicine. Kemet is the birthplace for surgery. Kemet is the birthplace for naturopathy. Kemet is the birthplace for herbology. One of the big things that we've been doing, and we have a whole little book series on the Ebers papyrus, is we were exploring the missing herbs, because there's a whole thing for the people that study Kemet from a health perspective. When you get into the studies, they say that there were hundreds, sometimes over 1,000 plants that had medicinal or therapeutic value that they were using in Kemet, but you can't find them. And when you try to look them up, they give you like a real rudimentary list of about 10, 20 herbs. And so, we were, putting our foot on their neck, so to speak. And we find out that most of the herbs, you can't find them anywhere because they've been sequestered. And that is what jump-started the world's pharmaceutical industry. You know, these plants that they had in Kemet. The math, you know, in order for us to understand music or even electric fields, magnetic fields, like to understand waves, doubling and halving, you know, a specific type of math called doubling and halving is used for that. It's the same math that is the parent precursor to binary coding, right? And it just so happens that the way they did math in Kemet is a system of doubling and halving. That's how they did their addition, subtraction, multiplication. Like all of their basic arithmetic was based on doubling and halving. So all of today's modern music scales, all of today's binary coding goes back to Kemet. So all of our technology that we have has its roots there in Kemet. If we're talking about even the technology, like the architecture inside our computers and stuff, like the chips, the layouts are designed as micro, you know, like microscopic, like miniature versions of the temple layouts. And the reason is not necessarily because they were trying to design computers in Kemet or something like that, but they understood the movement of energy, right? And so they built the temples with a very specific design to control the flow of energy within the temple walls. And that's all that happens with computer architecture, you know, microchips. And
let me ask you, man, are you prepared today to show some slides? Because you come in with groundbreaking historical research, and that's what the title says. So are you going to show any of the groundbreaking information that you're talking about?
Well, I you know, I can pull up my my debate slides. I can pull up my debate slides just to show people, I think, the most important thing.
Show the people what you think they missed that went over their head. Because Suntan always say you went over the head of the people.
I believe Suntan is correct. I believe Suntan is correct. I just don't think Suntan is correct when he says that's like that you could lose a debate by providing too much information. But I do think he was correct in that, because most people won't admit it. You know what I'm saying? But that's what they're talking about. They're like, Enqi, you was off topic. And then I asked them which round. They're like, they don't want to say, but they know it was the first round. And even Jabari didn't understand what I was talking about, because he said that I was talking about atoms. And I kind of mentioned atoms, but that wasn't the subject of what I was talking about. What I was talking about was I was talking about Ray specifically. And this kind of goes to exactly what I was saying. And this right here should be celebrated, especially amongst the Kemetic community, seeing as nobody's really putting the time and energy into the science. But it adds a whole nother level of integrity to the work of many of our ancestors. You know, because a lot of times we just attribute theology to fantasy. And when we say mythology, we don't understand that, you know, just because something is a myth doesn't mean that it is a fairy tale. One of the major differences between our world today and the world of yesterday is the teaching style was different. Yesterday's teaching style was about taking complex concepts and simplifying them into a story, simplifying those things into a story format. So the teacher was, we had terms like griot or griot, which is a storyteller, but the stories that are being told are not necessarily just made up stories. The whole idea was to take complex concepts and roll it into a story. And the griot actually is the origin of today's scientific mechanism. And that was a point of contention in the first debate with Enqi, just before Jabari, because I realized early on that Enqi didn't know what a scientific mechanism was. Every time that he read over scientific theory, he never mentioned scientific mechanism. And the scientific mechanism is the heart of a scientific theory. The scientific mechanism is where you identify the parts and the interactions of those parts for a given phenomenon or whatever the thing is that your whole overall theory is about. And so what our ancestors would do with stories is they would identify parts and then they would anthropomorphize those parts. And then they would create a story that mimicked the interactions between those parts. So now you have characters and then you have a storyline that mimics the actual phenomena. So what I mean is, for instance, they would take Ray, right? They would take Ray, and when they're talking about Ray, they're talking about traveling waves. How do we know we're talking about traveling waves? Because plenty of times throughout the stories about Ray, they identify Ray with light. Light is traveling waves. So John Q. Public, though, if they don't know that light is a form of traveling waves, they will never be able to make the association. So if somebody refers to Ray as light, nobody bats an eye. They accept that. They go, oh, yeah. That's the God Ray. Yeah. The sunlight, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we get that. The moment you say Ray is traveling waves, all of a sudden they go, where'd you get that from? You made that up. Blah, blah, blah. Hold up. That's not in the text. Like, wait a minute. This is in the text. Light is traveling waves. Light is traveling waves. It's the same thing as is saying light or traveling waves. It's not really that much of a jump. It's the same thing. But so then the next thing would be, how did they know? How did they know light was traveling waves, right? Or what are some of the details in the interactions in the stories that would tell you that? And for the most part, I just refer people to my books because it's a lot of information. You know what I'm saying? So we have a book. We have a bunch of books on it, but we have a newer book called the source material for the Kemetic wave function. These two symbols right here on the screen are both standard hieroglyphs for Ray. These are both standard hieroglyphs for Ray. It just so happens that this one here on the left is the first harmonic for a standing wave function. The one here on the right is a symbol that symbolizes a bound wave system. A bound wave system. Now, why it's important when having a discussion like this to point out the purpose of what our ancestors were doing when they were creating what we call religion. Because remember, what we call religion, they called their lifestyle. we mimicking their lifestyles, we're mimicking our ancestors, and we're adopting that as religion today, but it wasn't religion for them. It was just they was trying to figure out life and how they fit in it. So we have to realize, in order for us to catch up to what it is what they was doing, we got to keep the main thing. And so the whole purpose of these stories is to understand creation. You know what I'm saying? To understand creation. That's why, Muslims will refer to Allah as the creator.
All right, start showing some slides, brother. Show what you're talking about.
I am. It's on the screen.
Yeah,
I will show. So I'll go through it. But what I'm showing, speaking specifically to right now, is on the screen. So I just want people to see these two things right here. This is what's important. This is the groundbreaking. This is groundbreaking right here. To understand that this right here is a standing wave, and to understand that right here on the right is a bound wave system. This is important because what modern science has developed, everything that we know of, comes from our understanding of standing waves, how to transmit standing waves, meaning how to have standing waves and then release from standing waves traveling waves, how to receive those traveling waves, convert those into maybe electric or magnetic signals, and then turn those back into standing waves back and forth till we can get information traveling wirelessly across the world, till we can get information moving through little crystals that we call semiconductors, till we can get information that that we see as information traveling through microprocessors and things like that. It all comes from these understandings of our ancestors thousands of years ago. So we gotta look at these things and get them in our mind in order to be able to recognize that modern science is actually the only difference between modern science and ancient theology is the math. It's the math. And so when people look at like Schrodinger's equations, because Schrodinger's equations and yeah, I would say just Schrodinger's equations is the foundation of quantum, wave function and quantum mechanics. But Schrodinger's equations are based on algebra and calculus. And the thing with algebra and calculus is that algebra and calculus both come from geometry. So although in Kemet they didn't have the algebra and they didn't have the equations that we do today, we did have the geometry that those equations are derived from. So anyway, what I'm saying with these glyphs, this is important though. Because the glyphs tell a story. So even when we get the idea of creation coming from the mouth of God, right here, this is where that original story comes from. This right here is a symbol for Re, which is the original creator God, and it is also the symbol for the mouth. So this right here is that original story that began to circulate in the oral traditions before it was written down. This is the mouth of God right here. And so when it talks about creation coming from the mouth of God, it's actually physics. It's actually quantum mechanics. It's actually real science. It's not necessarily gobbledygook. It's just that we don't credit our ancestors with having the understanding of what was going on. The only thing different than what our ancestors did then than today is how they packaged it. So one of the things that we do in the book, and the book is called Source Material on the Kemetic Wave Function. It's on Amazon. One of the things that we do in that book is we walk through Schrodinger's equations, and we show where Schrodinger's equations come from Kemet. We show it, like we show each one what they actually mean, because an equation is telling a story in numbers. So we show where the equations, where the actual information comes from in Kemet. And this is why it's important that these two symbols was linked together to tell the story of light, because light works in standing waves and in resonant wave cavities. In between standing waves and resonant wave cavities, light is traveling, so it's transient. So you can't have a symbol for that because it's never standing still. So even the fact that there's no symbol per se for ray as a traveling wave is also a symbol in and of itself, because a traveling wave is transient and it's always moving. So the closest thing that they got for an approximation in terms of the speed of light is why they use the fastest animal, which is a falcon, to represent Horus, who also is a child of light. But before we even get to Ray, we do have Nun or Noon, right? Which is 3 different waves. Usually it's written with 3 waves, sometimes 2, but mostly 3. And that refers to the primordial soup. And we have quantum field theory to explain that. And when we go into the quantum field theory is explained with 3 levels of waves, the same exact way it is in Kemet. In the quantum field theory, even with the newer versions of the Big Bang, they tell you that the subatomic particles were hot and active and moving around. That's 1 layer of waves. All of those subatomic particles were interacting with each other, forming acoustic or compression waves, larger waves. So that's a 2nd level of waves, studying those systems of waves. And then all of that was happening in the midst of plasma, which makes up a 3rd layer of waves. So there's 3 layers of wave activity taking place, according to modern science, at the origin of our universe. The exact same thing that, again, we have written on the walls in Kemet. So
My yesterday, tomorrow, I place the trail and follow from the home of the Apollo. I spit and you swallow. I'm here.
Electron, we see that they don't behave like particles, but act more like waves. And it was this wave model that allowed us to really understand what was going on at this classical level of a Bohr atom. And so we realized that electrons could be here or here or here, but they didn't exist in the middle. And that was puzzling to scientists.
So one of the things that I wanted to do, and I don't know if people paid attention, but all of these slides up here, you know, your man Scamby Davis Jr., he did a good job at misleading the folks. He said, Enqi said that Theophilo Benger said that the Christ was a living whatever. I don't know what he said, but all of these slides clearly says what I said, and I didn't change any of these. It says Theophilo Benger says atomic theory comes from Kemet. And I showed the clip of Theophilo Benger saying that the father of atomic theory studied for 5 years in Kemet before coming with the atomic theory. And again, this is just one of the, and you know, obviously I have my own colorful Bronx, you know, ways of communicating, you know, the information. But I wanted to give y'all a PhD professor who could articulate the information from an AP physics level, so that it will hopefully make sense, because I know sometimes the things that I'm saying, they don't match the face that they're coming from. That's a part of the deprogramming we got to go through. We're not used to seeing people from the neighborhood necessarily speaking at a certain level. So we challenge it off the rip because it doesn't look right. You know, he got gold teeth in. He can't know what he's talking about. Like if he got on gold teeth, how can he know what he's talking about? He got gold teeth in, right? That's not necessarily a problem with me. So I never switched it up. That's a problem that you got to work out in your mind, the self-hate. When you look at somebody that looks like you, that dresses like you, that talks like you expect them to be ignorant. You expect them not to be well-read. You expect them not to understand, you know, theology or science or even quantum mechanics at a certain level, which is crazy. Yeah, so that's just something we got to wrestle with. But in the meantime, in between time, I felt like a white guy with glasses on, PhD. I felt like he would do a good job of explaining.
Also, why is it when an electron falls down, it emits a photon of light, a certain amount of energy?
Know the metal nature, but you flunked biology. Talking hieroglyph.
Well, the wave model unlocked that.
Know the metal nature, but you flunked biology. Talking hieroglyph.
Well, the wave model unlocked that.
Know the metal nature, but you flunked biology. Talking hieroglyph.
Well, the wave model unlocked that.
Know the metal nature, but you flunked biology. Talking hieroglyph.
Well, the wave model unlocked that.
Know the metal nature, but you flunked biology. Talking hieroglyph.
Well, the wave model unlocked that.
Know the metal nature, but you flunked biology. Talking hieroglyph.
Well, the wave model unlocked that.
Know the metal nature, but you flunked biology. Talking hieroglyph.
Well, the wave model unlocked that.
Know the metal nature, but you flunked biology. Talking hieroglyph.
Because we've really got a good understanding of how waves work. So if we have waves moving back and forth, they create something called a standing wave.
Know the metal nature, but you flunked biology. Talking hieroglyph.
So if we have waves moving back and forth.
See, I want y'all to know, you know, y'all hating, y'all be hating on the music, but y'all should pay attention to the lyrics, because what needs to be communicated is, amongst other things, you cannot be an expert on the metal nature if you don't know quantum mechanics. You cannot be an expert on the metal nature if you don't know biology. And so we have a lot of people that, you know, that profess to be experts with the metal nature, but they don't know science. So that's why when you hear the lyrics, is, you know, the metal nature, but you flunk biology, because you can't really understand the language of a scientific people if you don't know science. If you don't know science, when you're trying to make sense of the language of a scientific people, the scientific symbols won't make sense to you. Let me say that again. If you don't know science, the symbols of a scientific people that they use to encode their thoughts, that they use to encode their information, their knowledge, it'd be foreign to you. It'd be foreign to you. It's like listening to the Charlie Brown teachers. Boom, bom, boom, bom, bom, boom, bom, bom. Boom, bom, boom, bom, bom, boom, bom, bom. So even the things that I say, it sounds foreign to you. But I still come here and say them anyway, because I love you. I love you. Period. It's no more to that. You in the chat, you with the hate in the chat. Yeah, I love you. That's why I come here and I say these things to you, because the information don't come from me. The information comes through me. And a part of you being able to deal with the vessel of the information is important. It's important. It's a part of your growth and your learning curve. But you have to understand that these were the epitome of science. Medical practitioners around in the hospitals, they're still using the very same surgical tools that was created 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago. It hasn't changed. The math that governs the world, it hasn't really changed. It's gotten a little more complex, They've updated some systems, but it hasn't actually changed. It hasn't actually changed because the universe is still running on the very same principles. Universal laws, universal constants don't change. That's literally what makes them a law or a constant. They don't change. And if they do change, it's not that the actual phenomena changed, it's that there was a flaw in the calculation somewhere. So it's more of a correction instead of the phenomena changing. The phenomena that runs our universe and our world is very steady and consistent. Very steady and consistent. One of the things that makes it confusing, and I heard somebody, it was either up here or on Debate Coliseum or something somewhere, but they were saying that things have to be rational because we live in a rational world. And that's far from the truth. We don't live in a rational world. Our world is irrational. And that's one of the fundamental conflicts with science on paper and the phenomena that we're trying to decode and write down on paper to explain to ourselves and maybe future generations. But everything in our universe, everything that governs life anyway, is run or defined by irrational numbers. Irrational numbers. So we live in an irrational universe, which is why the universe is, you can qualify or explain the universe using irrational numbers because we live in an irrational universe. This is why every person has a unique retina, a unique footprint, a unique fingerprint. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're all unique. Your brain print, the way your brain, you have unique brain print. Your blood vessels is unique to you. Nobody else is a copy of that. Even twins, they don't have the same everything. Like, we have a very unique world that we live in, and it's made up of uniqueness. So trying to make, things duplicatable all the time is not necessarily a mirror image of how the universe works. But it's important that we get that concept, though. You cannot understand the language of a scientific people if you yourself are not some degree of a science student. You have to study science. You have to study science. You have to get in the game somewhere, because you can't even understand natural phenomena. Like, people look at the Medu Neter and they talk about, they try to equate the use of animals in Kemet with the Neteru, the deities, the gods, and some of the stories and the theology with zoology. You can't, because you have snakes that are standing and releasing light from their mouth and all that. Snakes don't stand and shoot light out of their mouth and like it. You can't make it make sense that way. You can't make it make sense that way. It doesn't. You just got to understand that they went to the animal kingdom to represent some of the facets and the nuances of the interplay between, some of the things that they were seeing in the universe, which again is why they represented the falcon with Heru, with light, because the falcon is the fastest object in our world, the fastest object moving through a medium. So the fastest object moving through a medium, if you understand that light is the fastest object moving through a medium, it makes sense to equate light travel with the falcon, because the falcon is the fastest thing physically that we have here, the fastest animal on earth, and the fact that it's in the air, it gives it even more of a a symbology to what we know of as light, because light comes through the atmosphere. So all of these things have scientific roots. So the thing that we got to do is we got to get to the science. You know what I'm saying? I know that for some of y'all want to continue to just have, you know, did Jesus walk on water? Did, you know, was Muhammad, you know, did angels really come to Muhammad in a cave? You know, is there a sun on top of the head of, you know, like I know y'all want to have, you know, the second grade conversations forever, but that's reflective of the reading level of the people and primarily the audience. You know, America, you know, you can look this up. America's working with a 4th or 5th grade reading level. And because of the school system, you know, we primarily are at the lower end of the averages, you know, second and third grade reading levels. So it only makes sense that we want to continue to have debates and conversations that are on that level, because anything past that, you know, it doesn't hold your attention long. But what we got to do is begin to encourage people to build that up. Right? We got to encourage people to build that up. So anyway, I'm gonna go back to our professor right here, you know, as he's breaking this down and explaining it a little bit. Hopefully it's sticking in your mind.
And back and forth, they create something called a standing wave.
Know the metal nature, but you flunked biology. Talking hieroglyphs.
So if we have waves moving back and forth, they create something called a standing.
Listen, my apologies. I don't mean to insult the whole audience. I don't mean to insult the audience at all. I don't mean to insult the audience at all. And I'm not saying that you need to have a college degree to be literate. But I'm saying you do need to read to be literate, because literate means reading. Literate means reading. And most of you watching know, respectfully, in your soul, in your heart, you could type anything you want in the chat, but you know in your soul and in your heart that you have not read 10 books cover to cover in 2025. Stop it, bro. Stop it. You know you haven't read 10 books in 2025. You know you haven't read 10 books in 2025. Stop it. Okay? Half of y'all haven't read 10 books since COVID. Okay? It's just a fact. And listening to books is not the same as actually reading a book. You don't engage the same amount of your brain listening to a book as you do reading a book. So these are things that, you know, sometimes we just got to have a tough conversation. You know what I'm saying? And just like the people that come up on the panel, me, Apostle, Jabari, Reggie, whoever, we got to have tough skin. Sometimes y'all got to have tough skin, because what you got to realize is that AI can be an incredible tool for your growth, but AI can also be something that it can be an incredible tool for dumbing down the masses. And we already are dealing with an epidemic level of enumeration, right? Where people are innumerant, meaning innumerant is the word for it's like numbers. It's like when you say somebody's illiterate, they can't read. Innumerant means they can't count. And since technology began counting for us, people just don't have the ability to count like they used to, period. These are just facts. So you have to realize you are getting dumber if you're not actively pushing the issue. If you're not pressing the issue, you're getting dumber. These are facts. And if you're not pressing the issue to set an example, your children are getting dumber, because they're losing the ability to count, because their phone is counting for them. Their phone's doing the counting, right? We put things in our phone that we want to remember. We don't remember birthdays. We don't remember schedules. We don't do none of that no more. All of those things, phones, phone numbers, dates, times, all of that stuff we put in our phone, and we ask our technology to remember for us. So our technology counts for us. Our technology remembers for us. Now we have audiobooks. We only want audiobooks. We want the technology to read to us. Like grown adults, we need to be read to. We want the technology to read to us now. So we have the technology counting for us. We have the technology remembering for us. Now we have the technology reading to us. We don't write anymore. They even took out cursive writing out of public schools. They're not even teaching it anymore. Why? Because people are doing speech to text. So now we have the machine writing for us, speech to text. We talk to the machine write it down for us. So don't be mad at me. I'm your brother. I love you. I'm your brother. I love you. I'm just trying to tell you that our brains, each part of our brain is attached to the functions that it performs. Listen to what I'm telling y'all. Each part of our brains are attached to the functions that it performs. When we stop performing these functions, those parts of the brain start to atrophy. The neural networks start to shrink. Now, you could discount the information because it's coming from me, but it doesn't make the information incorrect. just like what's the name? Just like what Daylight said. Daylight said, "Is somebody in the crowd right now saying I'm not buying?" And then he turned around to the crowd and said, "Just because y'all don't understand the words I'm saying, don't mean he not dying." So listen, y'all can hate all y'all want. These are things that y'all should, in the holiday, we're in the holiday season right now, right? And the holiday season covers up the spiritual season, because this is actually the time of the year when you're supposed to be fasting, getting into your bag, spending time with your family, going into retrospect, seeing things that you could do in terms of self-development so you could be a better you for the next year, you know, the next financial year. You know what I'm saying? Because people would jump on me and say, well, the new year don't really start till April, March, whatever. The next financial season. That's how we run on the financial season, right? So fourth quarter is the end of the fiscal year, right? So the fiscal year starts back up in January. We live in capitalism, so yeah, there we go. But just in the natural season, because the sun drops and we are in a vitamin D deficient state, and we go through our lowest phase, December 22nd to December 25th, that was always the time to be, most in study, most reflective, and looking at what you could do better. And there's nothing more important than building the mind. There's nothing more important than building the mind. And in today's world, we have so many tools. We have so many tools that those tools will set us back. Those tools, the same way when calculators first came out, the people that was alive when calculators first came out would never have imagined we live in a world where nobody counts, where people barely know how to count, because we have the machine to do it for us. Now we get into a point where nobody's reading, even in a scholarly community, right? Scholar means that you're a reader and a writer. To be a student means that you're studying. A scholar, that means that you read. You're not a real student if you don't read, and your scholars are not real scholars if they don't write. I'm just saying. These are only facts. So again, going back to Kemet, going back to the wave function, going back to science, going back to the sa.neter, you cannot understand the language of a scientific group of people if you yourself are unscientific, if you don't recognize the symbols. And what we have here, what I'm showing y'all, is the foundation of quantum mechanics comes from Kemet. And that foundation is not about being able to parrot parrot somebody because I had some bozo jump in the chat and was like, yeah, we all know about noon and this is and that. You don't all know that. First of all, we don't all know that. And secondly, the story doesn't begin there. And you have to be able to translate that backwards and forwards. You have to be able to go from the Kemetic theology into the quantum mechanics. It's not enough to be able to say you recognize some hints of some ideas that may or may not be provable. You got to be able to line it up and prove it. You got to write your paper. You got to publish it. You got to put out a book. You got to stamp that with your name. Oh, wait a minute. I already did it.
Wave of an electron, we see that they don't behave like particles, but act more like waves. And it was this wave model that allowed us to really understand what was going on at this classical level of a Bohr atom. And so we realized that electrons could be here or here or here, but they didn't exist in the middle. And that was puzzling to scientists. Also, why is it when an electron falls down, it emits a photon of light, a certain amount of energy? Well, the wave model unlocked that because we've really got a good understanding of how waves work. So if we have waves moving back and forth, they create something called a standing wave. And so what scientists started to hypothesize is maybe the electrons, as they're moving around, are interfering with themselves. They're going so fast that they're interfering with the electrons as they come around again. And so maybe they're wrapping around and creating standing waves. And so areas out here, we could get a standing wave where the electron moving around the outside of the atom is interfering with the electron itself. And so what you get are these standing waves.
But you flunked biology, talking hieroglyphs.
Standing waves that build up, and that's where that energy allows the electron to be there. But in between these different orbits, they don't match up perfectly. And so they have to be a whole integer of the wavelength, the de Broglie wavelength, for the electron to exist. If it doesn't match up perfectly, then the electron annihilates itself.
My yesterday or tomorrow, I place the trail and follow from the home of the Apollo.
So, we walked down and I wanted to give y'all, my first round, I spent talking about Ptah and the Memphite theology. I don't think that people understood that, because if we talk about Ptah and we keep it in the kindergarten story form, right, where we have a man who is standing on a mound, right? If we keep it at the kindergarten, the kindergarten story, which is a man standing on a mound in the middle of space, and he's thinking and speaking the world into existence. Everybody's very familiar with that. But if we take that to a scientific space, right? If we take that to a scientific space, we're not really understanding what our ancestors left us once again. So when we talk about the mound or the mountain or the Jew, right, which is the word in the sa.neter, the Jew, and I wrote a book on this concept also. These are the early, so when we get the Rosetta Stone, let me rewind this back. When the world gets the Rosetta Stone, we don't have quantum mechanics. I need y'all to get that. When the world gets the Rosetta Stone, we do not have quantum mechanics. Let me say that again. When the world gets the Rosetta Stone, we do not have quantum mechanics. So at the time that most of our stories are being translated, we don't even have the science to understand what it is that we're actually translating, which is a part of the reason why the pyramids are still a mystery. The pyramids are still a mystery because we haven't given the Kemetic people their full scientific props yet. We haven't given them their full scientific props. But by saying that Atum, by saying that Ptah, created, began the process of creation from a mound. Well, a mound is the crest of a wave. That is the top of a wave. Kepra is identified with being the first emergence from what our ancestors would have identified as the primordial soup. Kepra then becomes Atum and Re. The Memphite theology is kind of unique because, you just have Ptah, where kind of a lot of things are represented in one. But the concept of the wave and our universe being made out of waves is very consistent. Like they've been very, very consistent about representing the waves. So whether you have Noon, and you focus your attention there, which is important because Noon links the Iyunu or the Enid together with the Kamenu or the Agdo, right? It's easier to just say the Enid or the Ennead because most people they're not familiar with the term Iyunu. But Noon is the connector, right? Noon is the connecting piece because when you tell the story of the nine, the Enid or the Ennead, it kind of starts with Noon. But when you talk about the Kamenu, Noon is just one of the 8 siblings, right? So again, my point is the stories are early scientific mechanisms. Early scientific mechanisms. And what do I mean by that? I mean that your ancestors were identifying parts. They were identifying parts. When you identify correctly the primordial soup, pre-atom, where you just have subatomic waves, whether you're talking about electrons, protons, or gluons and nuons, whether quarks, if you talk about quarks, all of that is subatomic. All of those things are represented as waves. So that is a part of the story of creation, right? When you identify traveling waves, right? That is a part of the story of creation. When you identify resonant wave cavities like a star, because a star is a resonant wave cavity, that is a part of the creation. And so when you anthropomorphize all of those parts and you turn them into characters, hint, hint, wink, wink, you turn those parts into characters. You then create stories to add in details for the interactions of the different characters. So this is why we looked at the Amduat, particularly the part where Re combines with Osiris, right? Because Osiris's green skin is representative of chlorophyll. And so the Amduat in the 6th hour gives the first description of photosynthesis. The first description of photosynthesis, Re, which is the sunlight, traveling waves, combines with the skin of Osiris, which is green. And then it produces wheat. It produces plants. It produces carbohydrates to feed the people, right? That is a early anthropomorphized story. That's a story of science. But if you don't know photosynthesis, you won't be able to recognize. You could read the Amduat 6,000 times. You could read the Amduat 6,000 times and be able to translate it from multiple languages. You could translate it to the Metal Neter. You could read it in English. You could even translate the Metal Neter into English. You could read the hieratic. You could read the glyphs. You could do whatever you want. If you don't know what photosynthesis is, you'll never just recognize that simple scientific process in the story. And the scientific process in the story is the more important part of the story. Having the nighttime broken up into 12 parts, those are more important parts of the story, because that tells you that they understood that there was 12 hours at the nighttime. Because some people will debate, whether, we got the idea of 12 and 24 hours or 12 hours in the day, 12 hours in the night from Sumer or where, some other places. But in Kemet, they didn't do it like, they did their thing a different way. They put it in the story. So you have Ray, going through this thing, and, even to go back to the Memphite thing, Ptah was always depicted green, right? All of these things have a scientific root. Even if we look at the sun, the sun's peak is in the green wavelength. So not only is the sun's peak in the green wavelength, but our source of oxygen comes from the interaction of the light with the chlorophyll. There's no oxygen on the planet without chlorophyll. This is a very important caveat when trying to lay out the science of creation. All of these different facets of creation that our modern science now documents and usually attributes to some German guy from the 1500s or the 1600s, it's in the theology. It's in the theology. The only difference between theology and the modern science is theology is not using long, ridiculous equations. They're just going to tell you a story. So it makes sense when Adam, Adam is it not only means man, but it also means blood. That's the conversation I was having with Apostle, right? The root to Adam is the blood, right? And so when we look at that, and we go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, the breath of life, that whole chapter is, that whole little verse right there is powerful, because your blood is what carries the breath. So the breath being introduced to Adam is also a story of respiration, inspiration, breathing, the creation of life. But not like the creation of life, like let there be animals, let there be raccoons, let there be a centipede, like not like that. The actual respiration that creates, that literally, that really creates that. When we get into the modern science and people feel intelligent because they're discussing mitochondria and, the mitochondria, the carbohydrates and, the proteins and yeah, that's based on cellular respiration. That's that conversation starts right there. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Inspiration. So, that's why I was having that convo with Apostle, and that might have been a month ago, you know what I'm saying? But we were going, and I was just pointing out, like when we go to the roots of these words, they're there. Like the origin for cardio it comes from the Greek in the New Testament, cardia. Cardia means heart. But when you look up cardia in the New Testament, it is it's a Greek, I can't really say translation, but it is a Greek word for the ib, right? When you go to Kemet, they had two. Actually, you know what's crazy? I always say that, but that's a mistake. In Kemet, they kind of had three words for heart, right? They had the ib, they had heti, and then they had like the symbolic heart, which would be called the lev. And the crazy thing about that is the Bible actually grabbed two of those, right? So in the Hebrew, the word heart is lev, which comes from the Kemet, right? And then in the Greek, the New Testament, the word cardia is the Greek word for ib. And you'll know that by simply opening up another screen, then this one, and just type in cardia, Kardia. Type in the word cardia, and then type in cardia, Greek, New Testament, just something like that. And then find out what it means. And when you look it up, you're going to find out that it's a word for the heart, but it means the mind and the soul, which is the Kemetic definition of the word ib, right? They had the heti, which was for the physical heart, and then they had the ib. And so we go through that whole conversation. We go through that whole conversation in a different book that I have out, a book that I have on Barnes and Nobles. The book on Barnes and Nobles is about the irreducible complexity of the heart. You could just type my name in on Barnes and Nobles and you'll find that book up there. But we spend an extensive amount of time in that book talking about the electrical framework of the heart. On the book cover, I lay out a I'm not going to say a secret. It's not really a secret, but it's not really taught. When you look up the modern anatomical credit for describing the heart and how the heart works, it goes back to a man called William Harvey back in the 1600s. And William Harvey, again, the same thing going on where these people get the credit for this information. But we have a Olmec. We have the Olmecs. This is going outside the Bible, outside Kemet, whole different conversation. Unless you see the Olmecs as related to Kemet, whole nother conversation. But the Olmecs had described the heart anatomically correct thousands of years before, thousands of years ago. So, and so I have that.
I think we should open up because, I got to another.
Oh, yeah. I got to go too. So
yeah, there you go. So let's open up the platform and let's get some questions up in here. See if anybody got any questions. Suntan, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, Sal? What's going on, Dr. Enqi?
What's going on, Suntan?
You got it. My question to you is, I understand your how can I say it? You being diplomatic about us reading, and I say we, I'm just speaking as a
people.
Yeah, as a people, right? However, you got to understand, everybody got their own lane, bro. So when I say that, everybody not fit to do what you're doing or to do what any other person doing now. You can base your objectives and opinion to someone who's trying to be a bona fide scholar or somebody who just want to be a listener and a learner like me. But when you covered with a broad blanket, you're going to run into problems because everybody's not designed for a scientific method. That's what I've been trying to get Unc to understand. And hold on, let me finish. And at the same token, as far as reading is concerned, is fundamental, right? But at the same time, as we live in this world of 2020, man, it's all about you learning a trade. And I understand reading is important and all of these things are important, but they're not the main thing we need to know. What we need to do is adjust our minds to what we can handle and function for as a trade or anything of that nature. Like I was, and I'm going to use this example and I'll let you answer. And I'm going to use sa.neter as an example. He, instead of him getting up doing a 9 to 5 every day, going to work, he developed his skills in this way far as a platform. So the reading part that you are trying to insert amongst people, what would that do for sa.neter when he's making a living and doing what he's providing for his family and he's doing what he needs to do to sustain himself? So don't, just a little advice, don't cover the whole community with a broad blanket. Everyone don't have to read. Everyone don't have to count and know math like that. And you could try to sell me a house and you say, Suntan, I'm going to give you $24,000 for the house. As long as I'm good enough to count that $24,000, that's good enough. All this extra trigonometry and all these waves and all, that's for the people who it's for. It's not for everybody. So I'll rest right there.
I just want to say, bless your soul, brother. That sounded very crazy. As diplomatic as you tried to put that sounded crazy. But let me say this on another note.
What you saying sound even crazier.
That everybody needs to be reading. All right, look, we're going to agree to disagree.
But yeah, we got to, man, because everybody can't be a smart nerd, man.
Well, let me say this.
We very, you sound crazy as hell.
All right, well, let me say this.
Look, we're going to agree to disagree. Yes, we got to, man. What's that echo, E?
I think that's Apostle laptop.
Oh.
Put your thing on mute, Apostle, or X out the other video or something. You got to
close YouTube.
Yeah. But here's what I would say. We all have to deal with certain things, right? We all have to deal with certain things. Alzheimer's and dementia is one of them. And one of the main things that you can do, like people understand the concept, because I get what you're saying, but I probably did a bad job explaining. And sometimes it's inflammatory, so that makes it even more difficult to hear what somebody has to say. So I'll put it on me. I need to do a better job as a teacher. But when I was talking about reading, right, I wasn't necessarily saying that people need to read. That's why I started off with Sa saying a lot of times when I'm telling people certain things, they automatically say, oh, that's because Enqi wants to sell more books, or Enqi wants people to read the material that he's reading or pointing out or whatever. No, I'm saying reading in general, because your brain function is tied to your health, but your brain doesn't work necessarily like your chest does. Like for our chest, we know that we need to do push-ups and we need to do like bench presses. And for our cardiovascular, we know we need to stay active and jog or get our 10,000 steps a day, or we need to do squats or whatever the case may be, something like that, right? But when it comes to our brain, we don't factor in the fact that we actually need to do daily working out on our brain so that we keep a certain degree of brain function. We don't think about it in that capacity, but your brain actually needs you to work it out. Now, somebody like Brother La or Brother Apostle, they would be exceptions to the rule because they read the same book over and over and over again. So they're getting a certain amount of reading in. But for John Q. Public, they don't read any religious texts. They don't read any books. They don't read any books at all. And that definitely hurts your brain development in the long run. So outside of the informational purposes, just for general health and well-being, we actually should be reading every day.
Okay, I understand that, and I'm gonna respond to that, and I'll let Pastor go. what you're saying, Enqi, is correct. But like you say, you got to put it in perspective. You got to put it in, you know, how can I say? You got to, people are made, all people not made for all different subject matter. And I see it's a lot of Enqis in the audience, man, because
ain't no lot of Enqis in the audience. They hate me in the audience.
Out there, man. And
they hate me in the audience.
They kind of parrot what you say. And at the same time, listen, bro, I ain't got no problem with that. But the fact of the matter is, you got a person for every job that's here based on this earth, right? So stay in your lane. That's all I got to say. And I'm not speaking to you. I'm speaking in general. People, it's good to read and know and understand and all of these sorts of things. But when people tell me I'm sounding crazy for common sense, that let me know that they just parroting what another person saying. You know, it don't really make no sense to me. So I'll relax on that.
All right, Apostle, you got the floor. It's on you.
Hold on, Si. I just want to say this to Suntan.
You don't need to respond, brother. Come on, man.
Okay, my bad.
Come on. Go ahead, Apostle. Unmute yourself, Apostle.
Thanks. Shalom, sa.neter. Thank you for allowing me to come to the stage. Thank you, chat, for responding.
Now, you said shalom to me, right?
I said shalom.
Right. And guess what? I will respect your greeting and say shalom to you. But when I say black power, peace and black power to you, you don't respect my greeting. You wouldn't say peace and black power back to me. See, my greeting is universal. It's for the Muslims, Christians. It don't matter what your religious domination is. It's just peace and black power. I'm wishing you peace in your life and power, brother. But y'all get so caught up on the spooky stuff and say, no, you know what? We don't agree with that. We don't say that. But when you say shalom to somebody, that's just a respectful greeting. And I gave you that respect back. So I'm gonna say it to you, Apostle. Peace and black power, brother.
Black power, baby.
Hold up, man. I'm gonna say it to Apostle once again. Peace and black power, brother.
Salam.
See, you can't even say it. Look at that.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
That's crazy.
Wait a minute, Sal. What do you think it is that he's saying to you when he says shalom?
It don't matter.
That's what he's saying to you.
He's not giving me my greeting back. When he says shalom to me, the person respond back by saying shalom. If somebody says salam alaikum, they respond back by saying wa alaikum assalam. They give you the greeting back.
But you can say peace. You can say peace. You can say it in English. You don't have to say it like that.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, Enqi. It's not. Some people don't understand. Salam alaikum. They don't understand. Some people. But all of them understand English. Go ahead, Apostle. You can go. I just proved the point. That's all.
That's just nonsense, man.
I know. You is nonsense.
I don't entertain it because I'm not a crayon. I'm not a crayon.
Who said anything about a crayon?
I'm a human being.
Who said any? Hold on. See, now you're trying to start with me. Who said anything about a crayon, brother?
Black is a color.
Black is not, and
it
so
belongs to a crayon color.
Hold up, Apostle. So is your skin complexion. Is the color.
Well, my skin complexion ain't black.
See, I know you think you're saying something smart, but so is the glasses you got on is the color. So is the outfit you got on is the color. What do you mean by that? Your skin is a color. So what do you mean by that? If you don't deal with color, then look at what you got on.
Greet my outfit. Greet my outfit. Say, oh, man, that's a pretty great.
It's just
a pretty great shirt.
Go ahead, brother.
My color. Greet my clothes.
Go ahead, brother. You got the floor.
I said salam, S-H-A-L-A-M, salam, and I mean that. That's peace. I can't give you a higher greeting than that, brother. I'm sorry.
To me, that's a lower greeting to me.
Well, so okay, fine. But to me, from my heart, that's the highest greeting I can give you.
I hear you. Yeah, you got the floor, brother.
But speaking on what Enqi said, and I just like to respond to my brother Suntan. This ain't being nasty. This ain't tripping. I don't agree that everybody needs a college degree. I would not say that everybody needs higher education. I would not say you need to go to school, spend all your money, get all the education you got. I would not say that everybody needs to do that. But you do need to read. I don't care what kind of level of grading you. My mother had a 3rd grade education, but what she did was read. She was a real, well-read person. She could just about talk about anything. But as far as book smarts or going to school, she had a 3rd grade education. My father didn't have the man that raised me. He didn't have. They worked the fields when they were 5 years old. He had to work in the field, cotton field, for his family. He didn't go to no school, but he knew how to read.
All right. Do you have a question for Enqi, brother?
Brother, I don't need you to control that like that, Si. It's all right, man. But you don't do everybody like that. So come on, bro. Me and you getting tight.
Apostle, I'm the host, man.
I understand you're the host, and I'm gonna get to Enqi, and I'm responding to Enqi.
Hold on, man. When I'm talking, I opened it up for questions for Enqi because we only got until 7 o'clock. Go ahead, brother.
I understand, but right now I'm dealing with Enqi. I addressed this to Enqi. Listening is an art, like you say. You ought to try more of it. I addressed this to Enqi. So I appreciate your presentation, Enqi. You mentioned the presentation that you did with me and you. Adam, Dam is blood, is in the word Adam or Adamu, Adama. So yeah, a lot of the other stuff you kind of lost me on. When you put up the mouth and then the circle with a dot in it. I didn't understand. I saw Ray. I didn't understand what you was talking about, but maybe one day you'll get a chance to explain that or the significance of that better. But thanks for allowing me to speak.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, before we move the mic, I don't know who came in what order, but I just have to say before Reggie get going, and he probably beat me up a little bit.
I'm on your side today. I'm on your side.
I was just going to say before you got going, I was going to thank you because I saw you going crazy. Everybody's sending me clips of you going crazy, so I just wanted to thank you for being a solid voice of reason.
I'm on your side today.
In a tumultuous time period. No, but I definitely wanted to thank you for your words, though. Before you said anything that was on my side or not on my side, I just want to thank you, though, from the bottom of my heart for the words that you have already said. And I just want to say that's very Bronx-ish of you. but
did sa.neter hear that? I am on Dr. Enqi's side.
Yeah, I just heard it. I heard you. That's cool.
I'll wait my turn.
Okay, let me go on past Apostle's done, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me go to Hercules, man. Hercules, let's go.
Hercules.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? How you doing?
All right.
Black Power.
Black Power.
Good to meet you, Dr. Enqi. It's the first time I'm getting a chance to speak to you. I did. I'm pretty sure you probably don't know, but a couple of months ago, I did a presentation on black mathematics and science.
I like your name.
Thanks. And I did show. I went in depth to show the advanced science and math that they knew back then. And one thing I agree with a lot what you said. A lot that you said I agree with. The only pushback I would have is that you will have to. I think you want to show more of the science of what they knew. Connecting it into details. Like for example, you could prove that they knew calculus. You could prove that they knew it, but you just want to show it. And to say that they understood the Schrodinger equation, you will have to show that they understood, what partial differential equations were, and how it relates. And so that's one of the things that I think.
Hold on, let me stop you for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that they knew the Schrodinger equation at all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the Schrodinger equations describe wave phenomena. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying is that in Kemet, in the theology, they were describing wave phenomena thousands of years before. So I'm not saying that they knew the Schrodinger equation unless they had a time machine. But what I am saying is that they understood the phenomena at that level thousands of years before. And so we're not being able to recognize our ancestors' genius. But I definitely understand what you're saying and totally agree with you about being able to connect the dots a lot more and just make it more clean and clear of the little parts and parcels of this connecting to that. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with what you just said too. I would say they didn't know the Schrodinger equation itself as we know it today. I would just say that they had an idea of something similar to it, to explain, like you said, the phenomena of what was going on. And definitely, Brother Sa, I'm gonna email you. Hopefully I could come up and I'll do a presentation on the whole thing, on my version of it, and just going into the details and connecting the mathematics with it. And because that was the only thing that you see people in the comments complaining about. But I agree with everything you said, that they codified their science into the spirituality.
Yeah. And listen, the people in the chat complaining, but they always gonna, like, that's not a, if I just show the actual symbol of a standing wave and I ask everybody, what is that? And nobody knows what that is. Respectfully, brother, if people don't know what a standing wave versus a traveling wave is, what type of attention, what type of comprehension you think you're gonna get on Schrodinger equations?
Yeah.
It's levels. You can't just jump from first grade to fifth grade to ninth grade to college. You gotta.
All right. Hercules, you finished with your question?
Yes, sir.
Did you have a question?
No, I wanted to back him up. That's all.
All right, let me go to God body. Man, you in the building. What up, brother?
What's up? How you doing there, big bro?
Good, man.
Hey, Dr. Enqi, let me ask you a question. What do you take? Because I heard you speak about light, and I heard you speak about traveling and moving. So what is your take on sound moving extremely fast becoming light? What is your take on that?
First of all, before he answered that, let me ask you a question. Are you God body as in 5% nation?
I ain't up here to do all that, brother. We can have a one.
Ask you a question, brother.
I'm everything, brother. I can't deny anything.
Brother.
No.
I'm just
You make this a personal thing, bro.
Hold on.
I'm everything.
Hold on.
Everything.
Oh, you doo-doo too? You doo-doo?
I'm everything, bro.
You doo-doo, you piss?
You can play. I just want to ask the brother a question.
Today, man.
I'm just asking you a question, bro.
I'm telling you, I'm everything. Whatever you say, I'm not going to deny it.
No, brother.
Listen, I am to you who you think me to be.
I don't think you to be anything. I'm just asking the question, brother. What's going on with our brothers today, man?
I'm everything, brother. I just want to ask the gentleman my question.
You don't represent the nation of gods and earth. You're not in that element. Okay, that's all I asked, brother, because of your name. That's all. And I'm
telling you, I'm everything.
Okay, everything. I got you. Go ahead, Dr. Enqi. Let the brother ask you the question again if you want to.
No, he asked me about what's my feelings on sound becoming light, and it's funny because I did an album called, that's the title of my album. I did it like 5 years ago. It's called Sound Becomes Light. It's still online now. You could type in Sound Becomes Light by Dr. Enqi and the album will come up. But that's a real thing. It's not even a matter of feeling about it. That's a real thing. It's a whole science called sonoluminescence that you know, if you want to jump down into a rabbit hole with it, is definitely a real thing. Sound becomes light. When you talk about sound, you know, you can go a different direction with it. You can talk, you know, because sound is vibration within a medium, you know, that's translated by a hearing system. So if we're just talking about the mechanical waves themselves removed from somebody's auditory system, and we're just talking about vibration, you know, vibration generates heat, which is a form of light. So there's another direction we can go with it. But yeah, definitely sound becomes light for sure.
So would you be able to tie that into photon blast or photon energy? Would you be able to tie that into that?
You say photon blast?
Or photon energy?
When you say photon energy, you just mean light, right?
Yeah, but I guess it would be a different form of the expression of the energy.
What do you mean, like different intensity?
But I guess that would be more or less involving more in the vibrations and causing things to move and causing things to, you know, alter its
right. But what I'm saying is are you speaking of like between microwaves, radio waves, infrared waves, UV, you know, like ultraviolet, or are you speaking more like in terms of like concentrated, purified, like laser emission, or like what?
So basically, if we were to sit down and have a discussion about the energy as we perceive now versus the energy how it was used in ancient times, that we do not have a full understanding of how things were created and how things were moved. And so my thing is one of the things I share with other people is that yes, light, sound becomes light, and when you look into light, it has information in light. And also that we moved, I would say we moved big objects, you know, with photon blast and altering the gravity of certain items. So, you know, I was just trying to
Possible.
see what your take. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So I was just
possible.
trying to see what yeah. Go ahead.
I just say it's possible because the one thing that for me in my lifetime, which in the grand scheme of things is a blink of an eye, right? But I would just say that the more we study modern science, the more we look back at Kemet, and the more we find out that they already knew. So it's almost like they knew so much in Kemet that the more we research now, the more we finding out that they knew. So
I just want everybody to know, sorry, Enqi, that we got Morpheus coming up next in a few minutes. Morpheus will be in the building, and his topic is the biblical God good or righteous? So we're gonna get into that. That's coming up next show. Go ahead, Doc.
And righteous, not orphan.
And righteous.
yeah,
And
just that's come on, man. Y'all trying to give my man Apostle a heart attack. What y'all doing? But anyway, what I would just say is so we could move, you know what I'm saying? Because we only got that's another way of Sod telling us to speed it up because he tried to shut it down. So but I would just say I wouldn't put anything past the Kemetic people. They clearly were so far ahead of us that they've lapped us in many instances. So I wouldn't put anything past them.
All right, let me move on. And the reason I asked my brother was because you asked a good scientific question, and those are questions that a lot of the God bodies would ask, you know. So when I heard you give me your attribute, God body, I'm automatically saying, oh shit, we got a Nation of Gods and Earth member, God body in the building. And you asked a scientific question. So that's all. That's the only reason why I asked you, was you in the Nation of Gods and Earths. Elder, let's go to Rakufu. What's up, Rakufu?
Okay, I just wanted to share my screen, sir.
Yes, your screen is sharing.
All right. Let's see. One second.
You sharing everybody's screen.
Can you see it?
Yeah, we see the chair.
Okay, Enqi, you see this chair? You see my mouse?
Yep.
All right, so
You
I
talking
looked
about the
up.
footstool?
Yes, I looked up the throne. This actually is the whole throne itself.
I know, but you was pointing to the
Yeah,
footstool.
right there, right there. But on both sides, they're like
Oh, wait.
lungs.
Hold on. Let me guess. You getting ready to ask me about electrification?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
So when pseudo is neutral or positive, I looked the definition up. Pseudo can be constructively useful when it is a bridge to understanding or let me see here. What is it? Used as a temporary model to grasp something complex. So sitting upon this throne, I had someone teach me this, and you can tell me how if this is a good model until we can know the whole thing. This will be the trachea. This will be the two lungs each side. The center here will be the third eye, the sun, and the wings on the side or the rays on the side will be the expanding of the mind. So to sit on the throne itself, you would have to be in balance and in harmony with the radiant top chakra. Go ahead. I had to do that. I had to do it. Go ahead. You can stop sharing that screen.
Yo, listen. Apostle said, no, Suntan said, I got some folks in the chat. Ask the people in the chat anything about me. Me and chakras is oil and water, brother. We don't mix. So that's
all right. Well, I didn't even so much mean as chakras as energy vessels.
No, sir. Chakras and energy vessels don't mix because chakra is not energy vessels. Okay. That is another misinterpretation. That is pure gobbledygook foolishness. But I love you.
All right. No worries.
Dr. Reggie.
Great. Okay, so you know what Enqi is doing? What Enqi is doing is important because some of his phrasing and how can I say some of his direct connections may not be so direct, but you have to understand that what Enqi is talking about is quantum language in ancient Egypt. So I'm not gonna
something happened to your voice.
I'm not gonna stay long. So there is, I'm just gonna share my screen, and there is a paper that you can read that says everything that Dr. Enqi says. It says, when the gods play the roles of the particles, sexuality, and quantum language in the perception of the Akdad of Hermoculus. When you read this paper, you're going to see quantum language in ancient Egypt. You're going to see, this is from an Egyptologist, by the way, Dr. Renata Tatamor. You're going to say wave particles. If you want to look it up, it's going to say wave and particle nature, right? So he's talking about collapsing of a wave. And what she does is she uses the language of the Nile Valley culture, right? And she explains exactly what Dr. Enqi is talking about. I wrote a paper a long time ago, the Ankh, the meaning of the Ankh. I think it got 180,000 views on YouTube about 2016 or something like that. I presented in ASCAG. Dr. Beatty just told me that I shouldn't use the acronyms Amen, Amenet, Nununet, Ket, and Hey for Ankh. And then I represented it. I represented it just talking about the quantum language of the Akdad. So if you want to be dismissive of Dr. Enqi, you will be terribly wrong when you actually see an Egyptologist that's pretty well known talk about the Big Bang, the Hermopolitan theory and the Big Bang and quantum theory. That's one of her subtitles. You would be absolutely wrong. Dr. Enqi, have you read this?
No, I'm literally looking around right now for a pen so I can write this person's name down and look them up.
Transdisciplinary as a method of investigation, the 4 types of states, right? 4 levels of potential characterized by duality, right? And she talks about the watery, unmanifested chaos, which is noon, right? The watery, unmanifested chaos, right? The hiddenness, the darkness, the infinite, the weariness, so she connects it with Nuna Nunet, Hawak and Hawak, Kek and Keket, and Amun and Amunet, and they you know, some people, and then she gives a coffin text spell. OU8, hey gods. This is hey, right? This is the Kemet, who are in charge of the chambers of the sky, right? Oh, you infinite ones who make up the parts of the sky. That's another way you can read it, right? So, so Enqi's language, quantum language, is absolutely in the Egyptological record, right?
Wow.
And there are other papers using quantum language. Enqi's language is better than Jabari's language. Jabari talks about energies. Energies is not a thing. It's not a thing, right? So when Enqi starts talking about that Jabari's getting his information not from the—
Hold on, Dr. Reggie. Hold on, Dr. Reggie. sa.neter, hating is a disease, brother. Get yourself off the screen and get a cure. Get you a vaccine from Enqi and get you together, okay? Continue, Dr. Reggie.
So and you can follow all of her footnotes where she has a great section just on quantum, right, where she sources. So you know, there is a lot of hate in the community.
So Reggie, I have a question for you now.
No, sir. No, you do not. No, you do not. Continue, brother Reggie.
I'm still talking to brother Enqi. When
that's right. Yes, sir.
If there's time,
we got to move on because we got Morpheus coming up in a few minutes.
No, you're right about that. 5 minutes.
So I want to ask you this question real quick.
No. We ain't got no time for that question. Is what we're trying to say.
All you got to do, Enqi, is
I'm just asking him a question, brother. And so here's the question: are you now saying, Dr. Reggie, that Enqi is a more qualified student than Jabari when it comes to the sa.neter and Kemet? Are you saying that?
What I am saying—
stand on it.
What I am saying is that Enqi was cheated from the debate because it was Enqi's fault because he didn't say exactly what he was doing with the caress. If he didn't talk about Jesus, then that would have been fine. But what happened is in a private phone call that the audience did not know about, right? You all agreed that it was on Jesus, but when you put the title up, the title was about the caress, right? The Christ, right? So Enqi made a mistake in negotiating.
Stop for 1 minute, Reggie. When you put the title up, he was talking about the caress.
The Christ.
Now, when you put Christ and the word together, what are you talking about, Enqi? Is Christ the word? What are we talking about here? Come on, scholar.
Okay, we're talking about.
Be quiet.
We're talking about something that.
No, I'm talking to Reggie. When you put Christ
taking over and kicking me out, listen, we're talking about something.
For me to ask questions because you know what time it is. All I'm asking,
you know what time it is. Now stop this hating.
I'm not hating, brother. I'm asking.
So just let it go, Sa. The fact is.
I'll let it go. Go ahead. Y'all scared of me, man.
The fact is, Jabari did not address.
You want to debate me?
I'm not debating you. I'm asking you a question, brother.
All right,
I'm asking you a question because you're a scholar. You know this.
Hey, now hold up. Let me just interject with a question. Wait a minute.
Together, who are we talking about?
Dr. Reggie, hold on. Dr. Reggie. But could you continue with our last 3 minutes, brother? Our last 3 minutes. Could you continue?
No, he can't continue. It's only one Christ, the word.
No. Hold on.
It's not a mixture of them. Be quiet, apostle.
We're talking about quantum mechanics, Sa. We're talking about quantum mechanics, brother. Can you continue, brother Reggie?
All right, I'm gonna move on. You got it. Right, so let me go to heroin because we ain't got that much time. Heroin, let's go. Enqi's so damn scared of me, man.
No.
You off topic. You're off topic and you hating.
I don't like when Enqi straight.
Hold on, Reggie. Everybody on here can see that Enqi's scared to death.
No, you off topic and you hating. You're off topic and you hating.
All right, brother. Let me go to Howard, brother. Go ahead, Howard. Man.
Wait. Nah, you gotta stop trolling. You gotta stop trolling.
Yeah, brother.
You gotta stop trolling. Look, I agree with Dr. Enqi and Brother Reggie. And Brother Reggie, I appreciate that. I had never even heard of that article. I like to get that.
That's a fact. I'm trying to break that. I'm going to get in that.
And somebody get some feedback.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I want to get that. I'm a double down on what both of the brothers saying. I would disagree with Reggie a little bit by saying energy is a thing. They don't have a working definition for it. They call it the ability to do work in physics. So is it a thing? Is it not? They call it physics for a reason because they're materialists. So all this to them is technically physical in their definitions. But when Enqi, what Enqi is talking about, there's people in the chat calling it pseudoscience. It's not. I don't think that Elder Obenga is pseudo when he said that the father in the Greek, what they call the Greeks, the father of atomic theory, got it from Kemet. And I think it's clear. And when you go into the Shabaka stone, it takes it even a step further because Schrodinger, who came up with the Schrodinger equation, he didn't know how to come up. He didn't know how to really rationalize with that because it was a bunch of possibilities or probabilities that the wave function sits in a state of a probabilities.
All right, I got to move on because it's past 7 and I got to get Morpheus in here. But I want to get these two brothers their chance to ask the question. Zion, what up, brother? Come on, make it quick.
Yeah, I'm going to be real quick. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I agree with Brother Enqi when he talked about the importance of mathematics and how it relates to your neural pathways. I appreciate your delivery today. You know what I'm saying? Even though, in the past I didn't appreciate some of it, but that's not.
I appreciate this commentary.
The discussion of symbolism with the science, absolutely 100% agree with that. I would have loved to see maybe a little bit more of a comparative between present day mathematical equations and a comparative with some of the Kemetic stuff. That would have been really good. And then my last is let Dee, Dwayne, and Rerun know I love them.
All right, Morpheus, let's go. Morpheus,
appreciate
it. I get that one punch you.
Real quick, can I speak?
Yes.
Enqi, I thought that was a great presentation that you did on science. I always like listening to you when it comes to science, right? Always enjoy that. Always learn a lot also when it comes to science. Appreciate that. That's your question, right? Are you aware? Can you share my screen for 2 seconds, Sam? Are you aware of this? Because I would love for you to do a show or when you get time speaking on this particular matter. Are you aware of this right here, Enqi?
Scientists, particularly a team in Italy around 2025, successfully froze light by making it behave as a super solid, creating the first crystalline structure of photons, essentially making light act like a solid but flow like a liquid.
Right. Are you aware of that?
Yes and no. I'm not exactly aware of the guys right here that they showing, but I'm aware of the ongoing research in terms of plasma physics where they've been trying to achieve the same thing. So that's kind of fly right there.
Yeah, so they from my understanding, they actually froze lights because you was talking about light. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around how the hell did they freeze light? So I'm asking a person like yourself who's very astute in science, you know what I mean? When you get a chance, could you dig into this and so we could, you know what I mean? Because we can understand it when you get a chance.
All right. I want everybody to know that the link is in the chat. Y'all can come right over and let's check out Morpheus. I know it's going to be the bomb. I hope Apostle joined, but I don't want the
leave Apostle, bro. Come on, man.
Come on, Enqi. Hey, thank you, Enqi. Great presentation. Great presentation. Yo. Great information, Dr. Enqi. Great. I mean, I'll be waiting on my brother, Dr. Reggie. Reggie got something good coming up for y'all, so be on standby. All right, and with that, we out of here. We come across the street. Just come across.